Greetings, welcome to the SciFi Pubcast, the podcast that tries to be a pub, and perhaps someday a pub that tries to be a podcast. And as always, we are looking for customers to come visit our bar. Yes, even now, virtual visiting. It's a thing. If you're passionate about something, want to be on a podcast, please let us know, because this bar is all about community. And yes, we're getting an extra show out because we can. My name's Joe Welch. I'm the owner of this fine establishment. I'm looking around and I see two of my very good staff members, dedicated, hard-working staff members, and a special part-time staff member who's just showed up in my bar. It's been a while. So I see Carrie Simpson. Hi, Carrie.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going, I think. I'm growing my beard back. It's day 3. Great. And I see Derek Beebe. Hi, Derek.
That's not actually me. That's just a picture of my face on a cardboard stick. I'm speaking to you to a speakerphone because there's no way in hell I'm walking to a bar right now.
All right. Okay.
Especially through a pan-dimensional portal connecting me with people in California and Canada. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I can see your point there. So
one of whom's just been on a cruise ship.
Yeah. Randal brought the petri dish to us. Thank you, Randal.
And that is Dr. Randal Graham. Yes, our dedicated scholar and writer in residence at the bar. Tenure law professor and former law professor of mine, and author of some book. What's the book title again? Something about Before Life?
Oh, now you have to drink.
Drink! Before Life. There we go. Okay.
And soon to be Afterlife Crisis. It's coming out in September.
I can't wait for that because we need more crises in our lives right now.
It's true.
Well, because we're going to need stuff to entertain ourselves for the next month or so.
Yeah, I just hit the liquor store yesterday and I spent about $300, so I'm fine. I think for the next little while. So
yeah,
nice.
The last time I spent this much on food in one shot, I was shopping with my ex-roommate and he was high.
Oh, okay. So munchies, right? Okay, I got your line. Yeah. At least it's not Derek's cooking from the kitchen, right? So.
No. I've got my own cooking. Who needs to go out and buy frozen pizzas when you can make your own pizza dough?
Oh, I know, it's nice. Yes, I had a frozen pizza last night, but I was in a rush because I just left.
I had frozen pizza for breakfast.
There you go. All right, guys, it's a strange time. This whole COVID-19 thing is breaking out all over the world, and it's hitting North America in a real way. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Randal Graham and his experiences on the Star Trek cruise and just to hang out. But before I get there, Derek, how's our kitchen doing?
I don't know. I'm not there. I'm speaking to you through a speakerphone, remember?
But didn't you put someone in charge? Like
I just piled up all the dishes in the sink into a nice little column to stick the picture of my face onto so that you can see me poking out through the window.
Right. Okay.
You might want to set off some deodorant air fresheners because it's probably going to get ranked pretty soon.
Thanks for that.
You mean you didn't bother to do the dishes before you bugged out?
I didn't have time. I had to get the hell out of there.
Right. I think we're gonna have a staff meeting after we get back to like normal life. Just saying. Okay. Our beer recommendation today on our episode for today. Our beer recommendation is Triple Bogey Brewing Company out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Yes, I just had a blonde lager. Actually, I had it at a bar in London, Ontario, a couple weeks ago. And Triple Bogey has a golf theme, but it's great beer. I like the blonde lagers. I think the older I get, the most unadventurous beers I like. I hate IPAs, but lagers, yeah, they work for me. So it's a 5% alcohol by volume and 20 on. It has a 20 out of 100 rating on the international bitterness units, so IBU units. So there's that. But enough about beer and disease and. Oh, God, our kitchen. So we're here with Randal. Yes, Randal is a lifelong Star Trek fan, and he has just returned from the 2020 Star Trek cruise last week, or thereabouts. It's the second time I'm being on the cruise, and I'm sure he has a bunch of insightful things to say about his experiences.
Well, I don't know if they're insightful, but I have things.
Oh, good. Yay!
You have things.
Okay. Let's get into it.
Things.
Okay, Randal, just off the bat, man, did you enjoy yourself?
Oh my gosh, it was such a fun time. I had so much fun on this cruise. You'll remember my glowing reports of last year's cruise.
Yeah.
This one was every bit as fun. I don't think I could rank them. I enjoyed them both. I had just a ludicrous amount of fun on this cruise.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a blast. As you may have noted from some of the photos that I was sharing on social media, a good time was had by me.
Excellent. Where to begin? Let's start from the beginning.
All right.
Yeah, and I know you were on the cruise before they were shutting down cruise ships. So perhaps because it's the most topical thing right now is how did the COVID-19 outbreak affect your travel, if at all?
Just not my travel at all. Just some of the jokes that people made. Royal Caribbean was the cruise line this time. Last year we were on the Norwegian cruise line. This year they switched to a new liner, which had some pluses and minuses. It's a much bigger ship, but they were certainly prepared for dealing with infections and things of that nature. They had enhanced medical staff. We had Gates McFadden was there.
Oh, good, just in case he gets sick.
You realize she's not a real doctor, right?
And Robert Picardo was there, the holodecker from Voyager. Wilson Cruz, who's the doctor from Discovery. There's no way anyone was getting sick on that cruise.
Oh, wow.
But no, really, the only evidence there was of any awareness of COVID-19 was in the hand sanitizer that was everywhere. Every 10 paces, there was hand sanitizer. There were members of the Royal Caribbean staff handing out hand sanitizer as people tried to enter any eating area. They seemed to make a good time of it. They had a couple of employees who were super charming and would, make little chants as people would walk in with their to get their hand sanitizer. Ethan Phillips made some pretty hilarious jokes about COVID-19 when he took the stage on the first day. He just started coughing like crazy when he took to the stage.
Oh dear.
Always a good sign.
So yeah, there was lots of joking around about it, but and lots of elbow bumping and Spock saluting instead of handshakes, and a little bit of distance hugging, but not really much note was made of it other than in terms of prevention and preparedness.
Yeah, of all the ways for the Vulcan salute to make a comeback, this is not the way I envisioned it happening. But hey.
Yeah, it's good to bring it back into popularity.
Yes.
Yeah, there
and
we go.
we had William Shatner with us, so hopefully he didn't get infected by anything.
Yes.
Not a
please.
spring chicken.
Yeah, let's put bubble wrap around everyone over like 50.
Oh yeah, everyone stand, get away from Patrick Stewart and give him social distance.
Oh please, please, because we need season 2 of Picard like now.
Do we ever?
Oh wow.
Like,
Yeah,
have you been watching, Randall?
Yes, I have. And the episode from last week, we actually watched on the ship with 3,000 people in the ship's theater. Of course, we had Jonathan Del Arco was on the cruise with us. He plays Hugh. And
I don't know how spoiler we want to get right now, but yeah.
Yeah, no, and that was the episode.
Yeah.
And he watched it with us, so that was pretty cool.
Aww.
And Jea Rhea was on the cruise as well, 7 of 9, and
yes.
That was fantastic. So yeah, Picard was represented.
Excellent.
Yeah, looking at this, and I'm saying I'm so jealous because I really thought about going on this cruise. I just couldn't pull it off financially because it's an expensive endeavor. And
it is pretty expensive.
But it sounds like a great time if you can afford it, by all means. And do I understand you right, Randall? You've already booked passage for next year's cruise?
I have, in fact, already booked passage for next year's cruise. In fact, the way it worked was about a week or two prior to sailing. Do you call it sailing? There are no sails involved. Prior to disembarking or to embarking on our cruise. We had the option to rebook the same stateroom that we were about to have for the cruise. And so without even having been in that stateroom, I rebooked it immediately for the following year. And my colleague, Tom Telfer, who went on the cruise with me, he and his wife came again this year, and they've rebooked their stateroom for the following year as well. It's just, I can't oversell this. It is so fun. I was just, there were times when you just wanted to break out laughing. You were so happy just from standing around among all these Star Trek people. And a part of the cruise that I leaned into a little more heavily this time than last was just getting to know other cruisers, like other passengers, and hanging out with them a bit more, chatting a bit more. Last time it was just running around from show to show, but I spent a little bit more time just chatting with people I didn't know this time, and lots of lovely people, lots of interesting stories. It was really a fabulous time. So if you do have the interest and the ability, I strongly recommend going next year. Who knows? There might be some Corona discounts for the cruise ship industry coming up. But again, you've got all the doctors from various iterations of Star Trek on board. How can you get sick?
Again, you guys realize those aren't real doctors, right? They're just actors.
There was a great little machine that they had hooked up.
I heard about that.
What's
that was amazing.
Robert Picardo had recorded a bunch of little video vignettes in costume as the Doctor from Voyager. And you could press a little button and indicate whether you were male or female, and then he would give you a little diagnosis about yourself. It was hilarious.
Oh, wow. Excellent.
It was all the little touches like that. Yeah, there were little things all around the ship. Like, the ship has quite a large casino on deck 4, and all of the signage on the casino had been altered to turn it. It stopped being Casino Royale and it became Quark's Casino. And so there's all this Ferengi stuff all over the place. And there's a bar. I don't know what the name of the bar is on the ship. There are many bars on the ship. Joel, you love it. But one of them had been done to look like Cheers, with all the signage from Cheers, except for everywhere that the word Cheers would appear, it said Qapla'. And they had all the artwork from Cheers, but all the faces were replaced with Klingon faces. So little things like that they just paid extra attention. Entertainment Cruise Productions, ECP, is the company behind the Star Trek cruise, and they just did a fantastic job of Trekifying everything.
I'm kind of amazed that they didn't have the forethought to turn at least one of the bars into a free cloud bar.
Yeah, they did not do that.
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year.
Derek, you were saying something?
I said, did they have blood wine at the Klingon bar?
They did. They had
Really?
So many different Star Trek themed drinks. I sent a picture to Joel, and I sort of made a joke that I'm going to have to try all of the Star Trek themed drinks. And that was before I realized that every individual bar on the ship had its own independent list of Star Trek drinks, and there were just way too many to try.
Yeah, and I posted on our Instagram account just so people could see it, because drink menus are really important to me. It's dear to my heart. So
yeah, I will keep taking pictures of them for you.
Oh, excellent.
Now,
or you
isn't
can come
blood
next
wine
year and
supposed to
try
have
yourself.
maggots in it or something like that?
Are we still talking about your kitchen, Derek? No, there was nothing disgusting. It was all yummy and good. It was really what they did is they took drinks that they would ordinarily make and just changed them a tiny little bit and then gave them Star Trek names. There was one take on the Long Island iced tea that I can't say I would recommend, but there were no ingredients in it that weren't booze. It was this huge drink, and instead of ordinarily to make a Long Island iced tea, you top it up with cola. They topped it up with Guinness.
Oh.
Yeah, it was that was quite the beverage.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Andorian Ale was good. Tranya was good. I tried those drinks.
Hey, and you don't really drink all that often, so you must have had a really good time, Randall. Okay.
I did. I bought the unlimited drinks package, and which I had to do some rough calculations, figured if it would be worthwhile. But weighing in favor of it is you can also get all the cappuccino, coffee, Red Bull, orange juice, whatever, any other kind of beverage you want. It doesn't have to be alcoholic on that drink package. And so I probably came close to bankrupting Royal Caribbean with the amount of orange juice I drank. But I also did try tried to make a dent in the beverage package by trying all the different alcoholic drinks, and that was a lot of fun.
Great.
But you don't want to get sozzled on this cruise, at least I didn't, because you miss out on so much cool stuff, right? Every moment is filled with some interesting activity or other, and even sometimes unplanned things, right? Like there was karaoke in some of the bars at night, and occasionally Star Trek actors would show up and start singing karaoke. And It would be completely unplanned. They would just show up and go crazy, and it was a hoot.
Oh wow!
Nice.
So how many people were aboard the ship?
Passengers, about 3,000, I think.
Okay. So 3,000 people in a confined space, all Star Trek lovers. Yeah, sounds like one week-long great party. So.
It was quite a blast, I have to say. And some things weren't completely focused on Star Trek. Like, they were sort of Star Trek adjacent. For example, one of the shows that I really quite enjoyed, the actor Jeffrey Combs, who played Wei Yun on Deep Space Nine, as well as Brunt of the FCA and Shran on Enterprise. He has a one-man show about Edgar Allan Poe called Nevermore, and he performed that entire show for us as one of our evening performances. It was super cool.
Oh, wow. So just because I want to basically share your experiences because I can't be there myself. So you flew in through Toronto to what, Miami?
Yep, flew London to Toronto, Toronto to Miami,
right.
And then we stayed at the cruise hotel. They pick a hotel that will be their official pre-cruise hotel, and then there's a big party at that hotel.
Okay,
that was the Hilton.
Okay, that's my question. So you get there in the afternoon, you party all night at the hotel before boarding the ship the next morning?
Well, I didn't. People did do that. We got there sort of late afternoon, and I took a few pictures, ordered some room service, just sort of had a chill night and tried to get a good sleep because I knew that I wouldn't be sleeping a lot on the cruise because it's just so jam-packed with interesting things to do that every moment that your eyes are closed or that you're unconscious feels like wasted time. So I had a big sleep on the night of the hotel night, and then leaned heavily into all the activities on the cruise. So the next morning, you get up on cruise morning. There's a shuttle that takes you from the cruise hotel directly to the ship. It's really impressive pulling up and seeing the size of all these ships. This ship is quite a lot larger than the one we went on last year. Interestingly enough, the class of ship we were on is called a Voyager class ship. The specific name was the Explorer of the Seas, and it's going in for a refit for several months, I think, in France, and then next year it'll essentially be completely renovated. So we'll have a slightly different experience of the ship next year. They're going to have some new facilities added, which will be a hoot. The ship itself was really well appointed, though. It had a skating rink. It had sort of a wave pool type of deal that you could go surfing in. It had a climbing wall, all kinds of activities that I would not have expected to encounter on a ship. Definitely more facilities than the ship we had last year, just because it's a much larger ship. And it had a shopping mall in the middle of it, sort of a promenade type of affair. And lots of good shops. Some of them had been turned into Star Trek-related things where you could buy Star Trek merchandise.
Nice. Was there a Ponfar deck?
There was no deck for Ponfar. I probably not part of that 7-year cycle. But we did have a Rise at Festival of the Moon party where lots of people had Horgons on display, apparently seeking Jamaharung. And I'm sure some of that was going around.
Oh, dear.
Did you have any Betazoid weddings?
No nudity that I observed anyway on the cruise, but lots of people getting sunburns because they hadn't been out in the sun in a long time and running around in bathing suits. So yeah, the Betazoid wedding would have led to some burns that would have been required medical attention, I imagine.
Yeah, Derek, your line of questioning is very disturbing.
Wow.
Hey, I didn't even mention Quark's Hollow programs.
Thank
Too
God.
late.
Okay.
Too late.
So, what struck you, Randal, as like a standout experience?
Well, the whole darn thing. Now, in terms of anything that I would single out, this cruise was sort of different in flavor than last year's. Last year's, there were a couple of performers who really were standout performers in every event that you went to. That they were involved in was sort of extra special. This time, everybody was sort of on par with each other. Everyone seemed to really be pitching in, and there was no particular actor who I just thought, like, this is the reason to come to the cruise. Everybody seemed to come together, and they were all fantastic. Although I'm just going to backtrack on that for 1 second and say that both Robert Picardo and Chase Masterson, there's something special about events that they were involved in. They're just charming, lovely people. and not to take anything away from any of the other actors, I had a blast with everybody who I met, or every encounter that I had with any of the Star Trek celebrities. But Chase Masterson, I had a spa day with Chase Masterson. That was Lita from Deep Space Nine, and it didn't quite go as planned. There were weather issues causing huge sea swells, and to get to this particular port where we were having our spa day, you had to take a tender boat, a small little craft, from our ship to land, and it was unsafe. So we were about 2 hours delayed getting to it, and then Chase Masterson couldn't stay for the entire spa day. In fact, she had to take off about 20 minutes into it. But the crews responded by allowing us to stay later than we'd initially planned. They refunded part of the charge for those things. But again, just having Chase Masterson there, she was so kind and friendly and fun that you almost didn't feel badly that the day's outing wasn't going as planned. Similarly, Bob Picardo, every time he walked into a room, he sort of lit the room up, and everybody was suddenly having a good time. William Shatner was interesting. He was on for half of the cruise. Kate Mulgrew was on for the first half, then she left when we were at one of our ports of call, and then he came on and took over the captaincy for the remainder of the voyage. He was neat. He didn't really perform. He just sort of hung out on the stage and talked, and it was fascinating. It was interesting. On the last night of the cruise, Brent Spiner, Commander Data, performed. He had something called Inside the Actors Studio, and it was just an interview with William Shatner for the full hour. It was really fun watching someone try to wrangle William Shatner, because he is a man who will not be wrangled.
He really doesn't get wrangled.
It was hilarious. Like, Spiner would ask him a question, and Shatner would answer the question that he wanted to have been asked, rather than anything that resembled what had actually been asked. All sorts of events like that. I'm rambling a bit because I'm overstimulated. There's so much interesting stuff going on at any given moment on the cruise, and the people are just lovely. And one of the more moving things about this cruise, I suppose, would be the involvement of Ken Mitchell. He plays a number of the Klingons on Star Trek Discovery, and I don't know if you had seen the news, but he revealed shortly before the cruise his diagnosis with ALS.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and like last year, he was on the cruise, and he was this vibrant presence running around, like he was having Klingon raves in the middle of the night and painting our faces and just being generally a big party animal in a good way. This year, he's largely confined to a mobility device. Like, he's on a little scooter, and he has people helping him when he wants to stand. The disease really has had quite a toll on him. But it gave the opportunity for so much loveliness to happen. Like, just watching how attentive and kind people were to him, watching how he's just embracing the cruise experience and having as much fun as he possibly can. He said one of his items on his bucket list was to go crowd surfing, and so he did in the middle of a party.
I saw the pictures of that. That was great.
Yeah, they crowd surfed Ken Mitchell all over the place. That was fantastic. One morning he was on a panel with a bunch of other Discovery actors, and he came out with sunglasses on. And he said, I apologize for wearing sunglasses first thing in the morning. I was doing a science experiment last night, and it turns out that vodka, cranberry juice, roulette, and 4 hours of sleep does not cure ALS.
Aww.
He was very fun. And Ethan Peck, who plays Spock on Discovery, really stood out to me as a person who was very solicitous of Ken Mitchell's needs. Like, he would just run around looking after his friend, making sure he had drinks, making sure that everything that he needed to be looked after was in fact looked after. Seems like a lovely young man, Ethan Peck. And one of my colleagues who was on the trip with me is now completely in love with Ethan Peck. So he's a handsome fella.
His grandfather was quite
Gregory Peck,
nice looking as well.
I didn't realize that Gregory Peck was his grandfather before the cruise. I was on the cruise when I learned that fact. That was interesting.
Was he bearded or shaven?
He was bearded.
Mm.
So, what Portcullis did you go to? Like, what territories?
We went to a bunch. We went to Puerto Rico. We went to San Juan, Puerto Rico. We went to Grand Bahama. We went to St. Thomas, Virgin Islands. Yeah. One of my friends who I met on last year's cruise actually lives in Puerto Rico, and she went on this cruise anyway, even though one of the ports of call was basically her place. And she said it was great. On one port day, when we checked into her port of call, she went home and visited her dog and did some laundry, and then came back on the boat.
That's great. Love it. Wow, I'm just trying to think where we can go from here. This is great. I like this. Your observations of all the actors. Was there
one of the highlights?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. One of the highlights with the actors. Every once in a while, they do sort of late night comedy, and Garrett Wang of Voyager, who I've been saying his name incorrectly all these years. It's spelled Garrett Wang, but it is pronounced Garrett Wang. He did a comedy night, and he is hilarious. He did an exceptional job doing his comedy night. And then another late night sort of comedy fest that happened was a bunch of the Star Trek actors overdubbing a classic episode of Star Trek where they just inserted a bunch of dirty jokes and silliness, and was really hilarious. And I can't do it justice by even explaining what they did, but it was just really, really funny. And then they did a script reading. A bunch of the actors got together and did a script reading from the original series. They did the episode Devil in the Dark, the one about the Horta. Yeah. And Ethan Phillips Neelix played the Horta, which was hilarious. And Gates McFadden played Captain Kirk, and she was amazing as Captain Kirk. And they're just reading from the scripts and reenacting the episode as best they can, but obviously with hilarity as being the main goal of what they're doing. So lots of little events
Spock?
like that happened. Who played Spock? Ethan Peck.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was hilarious that he was the one person who played his own role, although obviously he was doing the Leonard Nimoy.
A few generations removed, but yeah. I mean, that I probably shouldn't have asked that question with him being on the cruise.
Oh well, no, it was. Well, I mean, William Shatner was there, but he didn't play Kirk.
That is true.
Gates McFadden's William Shatner impersonation is just brilliant. She's hilarious.
Wow. Was there many people from the production end there, in terms of set designers, writers, directors?
They had some. That Rob Perlman was there. He writes books about Star Trek. Dr. Erin MacDonald was there. She's not involved in the Star Trek shows at all, but she's an actual astrophysicist who was giving lectures on the science of Star Trek. She was amazing. Mohammed Noor there. He's his PhD's in biology and genetics, and he gave talks about alien life and things of that nature. Lolita Fatjo was there. I believe she's one of the producers. Makeup artists were present, and they would you could go to shows on that. So yeah, some of that. I didn't see as much of that this year as I did last year. There were so many events that you have to pick and choose. Obviously, there are things happening at the same time, and that was the only difficult part, was deciding what thing you wanted to do at any particular time, because there'd be 18 amazing things happening at once.
Oh wow! What are some of the other events you attended?
Thinking about some of the other events, there were so many. There were lots of just dance parties at night, and they all had theme nights. Like we had a Heroes and Villains night, we had a Captain Proton night, and many of the cruisers dress in costume for these events, which is super fun. One thing that I don't do on the cruise that a lot of people, it is a major part of the cruise for them, is I don't sign up for autograph sessions or photo sessions with the cast members. And you can do that, but my understanding is if you do that, you're going to spend a good portion of your cruise standing in lines. Because you line up for your opportunity to have your photo taken. You have to pay in advance for autographs and pictures and things. And then you stand in line to go sit with the entire cast of Voyager and have your photo taken with them. People were in line for like 4 hours. And I'm just thinking about all the shows I would have missed had I been doing that. Some people were a little bit grumpy about the size of the lines. This was a much larger ship than past years, so there were more passengers and therefore longer lines for things. That did not feature at all in my cruise experience because I didn't have to stand in line for anything. Because I don't do the autograph stuff. Yeah, it's just not a thing that I'm inclined to do, to have someone's signature on a piece of paper. And the photos that I enjoy are the ones that happen sort of on the spur of the moment. Like I took a selfie with Mary Chieffo, who plays Laurel, Chancellor Laurel on Discovery, after she applied Klingon war paint to my face, which was super fun. It's those little moments when you just take a photo with one of the actors because they're affording you that opportunity, even though they're probably not supposed to do that because they're supposed to be getting paid for the pictures they take with you. But some of them just they're there for a good time too, and they're taking selfies with everybody and crowd surfing and dancing with you. It was a blast.
Wow.
Nice.
But the question I have for you, Randal, is that did they ask you for your autograph?
No, that didn't happen. Although I did give Chase Masterson a copy of my book, and she was very lovely about that. I just because I was doing my day excursion with her, and I just love her character. I love her character's relationship with Rom. I just like that storyline, and she's such a nice person. I don't know if you're aware, but she's become an advocate for sort of anti-bullying campaigns, and essentially an ambassador for kindness. That's what she does now. That's her brand, and she's just so lovely, and I like her work a great deal. And so I thought it would be fun to give her a copy of my book, and which hope I like to think about the fact that maybe one day she'll read it.
I was gonna ask you how many copies of Before Life you brought along with you.
Oh, I just gave the one away.
Wow.
Was the entire cast of Voyager there?
No, some people couldn't make it. There was no Robert Beltran Chakotay. He didn't come.
Yeah, I figured.
I think Paris. I think they mentioned the other Robert wasn't there either.
Robert Duncan McNeil, who plays Tom Paris. He was supposed to be there, but I think he had some sort of director gig that came up, and so he went with that. Derek, why are you not surprised Robert Beltran was there? Do you know something I don't know?
Well, from what I've read in interviews, he did not enjoy being on the show, and I don't know if his views have changed in the decades since, but he was not really a fan of the franchise.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't know a lot about some of the behind-the-scenes stuff with these people. That was actually interesting, finding out about the relationships between different people. Kate Mulgrew was brilliant, Catherine Janeway. And she talked a lot about, and of course she's just been on Orange is the New Black. She's having quite the career. She's written a couple of books. Now she's writing a novel. And so she talked a lot about being an actor, being a creative person, and not so much about Star Trek. Then that was the first night. She did essentially a 1-hour interview of herself where she talked about her life and career and lots of interesting things that she's done with her life. And then the next day, there was a panel with the entire cast of Voyager, at least everyone who had come. And it was lovely watching them interact with each other. They really seemed to be friends and to have genuine affection for each other. And they were super glad to have this reunion. And again, since Robert Beltran was involved, it was hilarious. Ethan Phillips, also hilarious. One of the most random and hilarious encounters I had was standing in a buffet line with Neelix. I didn't imagine him hopping into the buffet to grab a burger, but there he was.
He wasn't serving the food?
No. But yeah, he was very funny. He did not do a full-on comedy routine as he had last year. His jokes are raunchy. Like if the line that he is willing to cross is one I don't even move into that postal district. I mean, he will cross any line you give him. But and 80% of the time it's hilarious. 20% of the time it's uncomfortable. But he didn't do a full-on comedy routine this time. That was left to Garrett Wong, and that was very well done. Oh, the music was quite good too. A lot of these people are quite good musicians. Leggett Damar, Casey Biggs of Deep Space Nine, he's a very good singer, and they had a whole Rat Pack and also a Star Trek blues band where they would perform various songs, often with the lyrics changed to have Star Trek content. Apparently, Max Gradenchik, who played Rom, he was on the cruise. He was hilarious and fun and very accessible with fans. He writes a lot of these sort of Weird Al Yankovic style song parodies, where he'll just take a known song and just put Star Trek lyrics into them, and then he performs them for us.
Well, Randall, have you seen the DSI documentary?
Believe it or not, I have not.
Because I think it's Max, Armin, Jeffrey Combs, and I think the one you mentioned, I can't think of the guy's name right at the moment. They do like a barbershop quartet type thing at the end for the closing credits. And
Casey Biggs, probably. Yeah.
Casey Biggs, yeah, and it was fabulous. It was great.
One person who I did not expect to be nearly as entertaining as he was, and this is just because he played a variety of smaller parts in Star Trek, was the guy who played Admiral Forrest. And his name has just fallen out of my head. He was in Enterprise. I'm just going to call up his name, and hopefully Joel will edit this out so that I won't sound like a bad person.
No. We do it. It is what it is. I look up because my memory is shot.
Vaughn Armstrong?
Vaughn Armstrong. Yes. That's the name. Completely fell out of my head. He's quite a good singer, and he does a lot of the musical arrangements for the Star Trek Rat Pack and the Star Trek Blues Band, and they would just have performances. You'd be walking along the pool deck, and suddenly there's Leggett DeMar and Admiral Forrest up there playing guitars and singing at you.
Nice.
Oh, wow. How was the food?
I really liked it. I heard a few people complain. Last year on the cruise, I went like every night. I would go to one of the upgraded restaurants. All the food is included with the cost of the cruise, unless you go to an upgrade restaurant where you go and it's slightly fancier and specialized dining opportunities. Like last year, there was a Brazilian restaurant. This year, I only did that one night. I went to their Italian restaurant, which was again all redone to be a Neelix-themed restaurant. And all the dishes you would order, like if you were ordering the noodly pasta, it was called gach instead of whatever it had. I think it was tagliatelle, but they just relabeled it gach. And like roasted targ instead of steak. And we had dinner there one night, and it was quite good. I found that the buffet was remarkably good. How do you make a buffet good? I don't like buffets, generally speaking, but yeah, the breakfast was very good. The dinners were great. I was really pleased with the food.
Yeah. So I know with cruise ships, the whole thing right now is that cruise ships attract people from all over the world. What was the typical nationality on the ship? Mostly Americans, or?
I was probably almost entirely American. I mean, there were a number of Germans present. There were people from all over the world, except for certain parts that weren't allowed to be on the ship anymore. Anyone who'd been to or through Wuhan, for example, was not on the cruise. And suddenly, the week before the cruise set sail, 9 staterooms became available. I think probably because of people who had been through banned areas. So yeah, there were people from all over the place, but yeah, they largely American, and people just sort of assume you're American. I was chatting with one American, and she kept talking about the people who were in charge of this country, and I'm like, what country are you referring to? Because we're in the middle of the Caribbean, and I think you think we're still in America, and that I'm one of you. But lovely people, and there wasn't a person I met on board who I didn't enjoy meeting. Everyone was very nice and friendly.
Oh, wow. So it's fair to say that you would definitely recommend this experience to people?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, absolutely. I wholeheartedly recommend it. I'm obviously going again next year. I have been a bit of an evangelist for this cruise. I have other people who are super interested in signing up. A buddy who clerked with me in the 1990s. His wife is a big Star Trek fan, and my understanding is that they've now booked a cabin on board, so I'll get to see them. So eventually it'll just be me and pals on the cruise.
And you'll be paying for the 3 of us to go as well, right?
I don't recall that in the contract, but I may have been drunk when I signed that.
Yeah, I've looked into the fine print. Apparently, their cancellation policy is not very good. You have to get travel insurance, so you really have to commit to the dates.
Yeah, I did buy travel insurance. I committed to the dates in advance. I mean, last year, the cruise ran in early January. And we didn't know what the dates for sailing were going to be for the cruise we were just on at the time. And I was on the ship with one of my law school colleagues, And I said to him, I think we should book for next year. And he said, well, what if the cruise takes place during the middle of the term next year? I said, I don't care. I'm going. As it turns out, this year, the rest of my term at the law school is being taught remotely now because of fears about the COVID virus. So I could still be on the cruise ship. No one would notice.
Oh, God, that's great.
I'm slightly jealous of you, Randall.
Yeah, it was a blast. But yeah, come next year. It's now open to the public. The website has been updated. It's now Star Trek: The Cruise 5. George Takei is going to be heading the crew. Walter Koenig is also coming, guys from the original series. That'll be a blast. They haven't fully announced who's coming, but lots of the same characters who were there this time around will be coming again. And I didn't have any experiences with Star Trek actors that were less than fabulous. Everybody was really in the right spirit to be there. I think everyone really wanted to make a good time happen for everyone, and it was a blast.
Wow. Any other thoughts about your experiences on the cruise?
I wish it weren't over. I suppose the only downside for me was that since my wife is not a Star Trek fan or a cruise fan, my wife did not come with me, and so I missed her. And that was the one downside, was having a week away from my spouse. But she's a busy human, so she had lots of work to do. And I don't think I'll succeed in talking her to come on the cruise anytime soon.
You have to make sacrifices in relationships, just how the relationships work, right? Yeah. So.
That's right. Well, I'm just glad that she doesn't mind me going and, eroding the vacation budget by blowing it all on myself on the Star Trek cruise.
That's great.
Would you have classified Chase Masterson as your cruise wife then?
That's probably not. He is just a lovely human being who is, she's sort of kindness with feet.
Oh, God, that's great. All right. Well, thanks for talking with us. You can come on anytime you want, Randall, So,
well, thank you so much. Yeah, well, especially now that I'm quarantined.
Yeah. So,
I'm actually not quarantined. I should add that. I'm not even in self-isolation. I am limiting my contact with people because I've been on a cruise ship and that terrifies people. But so far, no symptoms.
Excellent. Yes, definitely stay healthy, and that goes for everyone. Let's shut the show down. We might be recording more episodes, mostly every week now, because lots of people are staying at home or working from home. We'll see. And let's just try to be safe and kind to each other. So, for closing, this podcast is available on any of the podcatchers out there. We also do the video uploads to YouTube, usually the day after, because it takes a lot of time to render the video and end of the video. So there's that. Please check out our Discord channel. Discord is like a text channel where we sometimes have some good banter, or sometimes it's quiet. It's like a real bar almost. And we're still open. There's that. So you can find an invite for Discord on our social media. We always put out invites. Also, YouTube. Yes, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to get more hits on that and try to grow our community. It's important, and you can see our lovely faces. Not Randall on this episode, because when people come on our show, you can turn on the camera, or you don't have to turn on the camera. It's up to you. We don't care. It's a bar.
I have to do it though.
Yeah, you have to do it. Yes.
You do?
Why?
Really?
All right. Social media. Let's see. We're on Twitter, which I do, which is focused on sci-fi and industry news. I also do the Instagram, which is more focused on food, drink, anything restaurant related. Derek does the Facebook. Derek, you're doing a great job with the Facebook page.
Thank you.
Yes, focus mostly on geek news. Keep it up. You can email us if you use email. Apparently, this is a hip new thing at management@scifipubcast.space. Please leave a positive review on whatever or wherever you get this podcast. It helps us grow our community. Carrie, what's your Twitter address?
My Twitter handle is Carrie Blackfire42. That's KERI Blackfire42.
And Derek, what's yours?
I am at Derek J. Beebe.
And Randall. Yes, Randall, what's your Twitter address?
At Randal_Graham.
Yes, please go out and support Randall. Read his book and let us know what you think of it. Before Life, drink. And in September, his new the sequel, Afterlife Crisis, is coming out. So we're definitely going to be pitching that.
Thank you for the plug, sir.
Yes, there's that. I'm on Twitter at Joel_Welch, WELCH. Guys, please make it home safe. And in this time, please take care of yourself and take care of others. That's so important right now.
Yeah.
And stay away from others.
Yeah, there's that. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Music provided courtesy of Logan Rathbone. Podcast logo by Jea Rhea. Copyrighted Joe Welch. Listen responsibly. And we can't wait for your next visit to our fine establishment. Cheers.